name is Allison. I'm the Programs Outreach and Youth Services Manager here at Monterey County Free Libraries. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of Backyard Science. Today we are going to be talking about a very cool animal that I just discovered myself, and that is the California Slender Salamander. Now, I will tell you how I discovered this particular animal. I was out in my backyard at night with my dogs, taking them out to go to the bathroom, and we don't have any lights back here in our backyard, and there are no street lights in my area, so it gets really dark at night. I use a flashlight and I shine it on the ground mostly to make sure that I don't step on snails, when I saw this little thing that I called a newt, for lack of a better term, because I didn't know what it was. And it looked kind of like a worm, and I thought it was really cute, and I thought, oh cool, there's like a cute little newt in the backyard, that's awesome. And then a couple weeks later I saw another one, and it was the same size, and again I just kept calling it a newt. And then a little while later I saw a much larger one. So the ones I had been seeing were about this big and very slim, and then the one that I saw that was really big was like this big, maybe like this big, and it had a much thicker body. And I still called it a newt. Then I was talking to one of my neighbors who likes to go on nature walks, and he told me about this really cool thing on Google phones called Google Lens, where you have a picture on your phone and you can use the Google Lens to search through the internet and tell you what the picture is of. So my boyfriend has a Google phone, and I asked him to use the Google Lens on the pictures I had taken of what I thought were newts, and it came back telling me that they were in fact California Slender Salamanders. So that was a really cool discovery for me, to be able to figure out exactly what I was seeing in my backyard. And because that is the epitome of backyard science, finding something in your backyard in real life and doing research on it, I wanted to share that with all of you to hopefully inspire you to do further research on the things that you see in your backyard. So I went around to do some research on these little guys, and here is what I discovered. California Slender Salamanders can grow to be 3 to 5.5 inches long. That's the adults. They have short limbs, slender bodies, and a very long tail, which is what I had observed in the ones that I saw. They are active on rainy, wet nights when there's a lot of humidity and moisture in the air, and that tracks with when I had seen them in my backyard. I live in Pacific Grove, very close to the coast. It's always really foggy here, as you've probably noticed in my videos. The sun's never really shining. It's very foggy at night. It gets very moist in the air. I have a few large pine trees that are around my area, and the moisture drips down from the trees almost like it's raining, and so that creates a really wet surface in my backyard that was perfect for these little guys to come out and crawl around on. They like to hang out in moist locations, under rocks, bark, and leaf litter, and we did actually see some once when we were moving some pots around in our backyard, so they had hidden underneath. We also, near the areas where I had seen them, have a lot of what is called leaf litter. Leaf litter can be really good for creatures in your backyards, and what it is the leaves that fall down from the tree, where they land on the ground and start to decompose. That's called leaf litter. So if you're able to, it's great not to rake away all the leaves in your backyard, and I'll show you in a little bit an area of my yard that's out of the way where we have a lot of leaf litter, which is close to where I first saw these California Slender Salamanders. One of the really cool things that I learned about these animals is that they don't breathe through their lungs. They actually breathe through their skin and through the tissue linings in their mouth. So that was really fascinating. They develop completely inside their eggs and come out fully formed when they hatch. Some of their defense mechanisms that they have are to coil up really tight and remain really still. And I've actually found a dead one in my backyard, and it was coiled pretty tightly. So I wonder what was happening when it passed away. They also evade predators by detaching their tails, which can then grow back. So if somebody grabs onto their tail to bite them, they can actually have that rip off, and then they'll grow another tail later. They feed on small beetles, snails, mites, and spiders, among other things, which we have a lot of in our backyard. Another thing that I found absolutely fascinating is that these little guys have an 8 to 10 year lifespan. That seemed really long to me for something out in the wild. Usually something so small out in the wild doesn't have as long of a lifespan, so that was really fascinating. So I'll take you over to show you where some of the leaf litter that we have in our backyard is, and show you some of the areas where I found the California Slender Salamanders. And if you live in a similar climate where it's moist a lot, rainy, humidity, damp, then maybe you can look around for some in your backyard. One word of caution though, when you are looking for little critters in your yard, is that you want to make sure that you don't disturb them. So when I'm observing little critters in my yard, I don't touch them. When I saw these little salamanders moving around, I just observed with my eyes, and I got as close as I felt that I could without really disturbing them, but I did not touch them. So this is an area in my yard along this stretch here where we have leaf litter. So these trees here drop their leaves, they fall all the way down here, and I just let them rest. We have a walkway right there, so this isn't used as a pathway. Occasionally our dogs will go back here to sniff around, but for the most part this is undisturbed area. And this provides really good ground coverage for little bugs and other critters that want to crawl around in here. Leaf litter is also really great for butterflies that are making cocoons, laying their eggs, and then the cocoons can grow under the leaf litter. Some cocoons even look like leaves. So if you have an area in your yard where you're able to keep leaf litter down, that can really help to provide habitats for some critters in your yard. These are the pots that we were moving when we saw one of the slender salamanders. Let's see what's under this pot if we move it. Of course, there's nothing there on the day where I'm trying to show it off. But usually if you move some pots around in your backyard, there's tends to be little critters crawling underneath. None today though. There we go. We got one little bug moving around there. As always, I want to provide a question that I'm going to do some further research on, and I will get back to you with the answer next week. And my question that I'm going for this week is, why are the California Slender Salamanders that I've seen kind of a pinkish clear color? I saw during my research that they tend to be a brown or kind of an earthy red color, but that wasn't reflective of the ones that I had seen. So I'm going to do some further research into the different colors of the California Slender Salamanders and get back to you with what I find out. In our last video, the question that I ended with is, what is the largest tomato that's ever been grown? According to the Guinness Book of World Records website, the largest tomato was grown by Dan Sutherland in Walla Walla, Washington, and weighed in at 10 pounds, 12.7 ounces. That is a big tomato. And that was weighed in July 2020, so that's a fairly recent record. Thank you all so much for joining me today for Backyard Science. I hope that this inspires you to go out into your backyard, find something that intrigues you, and do some research on it. I'll see you next time. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.